So the first thing is there's absolutely no rules. And each one of us are different. Each one of us have a different personality. And therefore, the way it works for me probably won't work for you. I think the first most important thing is getting comfortable in your own skin. And yeah, that's it. Getting comfortable in your own skin. That's a process. It might take you a decade or two, but it's an ongoing process because people want to get to know you. You're a good guy, even if sometimes you don't think that, but it's true. So you really got to get comfortable with yourself. So here's my process as Shmuley has guided me, and hope you can gain something from it. So like, I don't know, 6, 8, 9 months ago, I wanted to go take the next step. I wanted to grow a little bit in my moisid, and Shmuley challenged me to start making these calls. It's extremely out of my comfort zone, very much out of my comfort zone. I struggle in asking people for money. Those that know me a little bit might think like I'm an extrovert and I love social and I love talking with people. It's not my natural. It's not my natural disposition. I have social anxiety and I don't like leaving that. And whoever is making noise, Shmuley, can I
yes.
Can I turn you off? No insult intended. So it's not natural, and it really takes constant psycho motivation to really be able to do it. And the first time I called someone, his name was Mark Kleiman, and I called him, didn't know anything about him outside of the CEO. I got his number, I got his name from Google, literally. I have an industrial park over here. I drive through the industrial park, I see companies, I write down the number, I get back to the office, and I research their CEO. I don't deal with anyone less than COO, CO, like that level or I. And it's not, I think it's a crucial point. It's not from an egotistic sense. It's not from a, I only like rich and famous people perspective. If there are 6, 7, 8,000 Yidden in my area that I'm responsible for, don't tell that to the people in Kilo, they might start moving out in mass to my neighborhood. But if there are many thousands in my neighborhood that I have to reach, I physically don't have the ability to reach them all. And at the moment, I'm not hiring a shliach for today. And even if I was, I still feel that I need to influence the influencers. I can't reach everyone. And therefore, the way to maximize my time is to influence people that they have, that the Eibusher put them in a position that they can influence people. Generally, those are CEOs. Generally those are wealthy people. Generally, those are people that, everyone has influence. Some people influence 10, some people 100, some people 1,000, some people 10,000. I want to aim for these people. That way I can maximize the reach of myself, the Rebbe, Chassidus, Eibusher, etc. I prefer not to invest more energy here because I'm not maximizing my time. And therefore, I really only aim for the high-level professionals and those with money, because money allows me to reach even more people. So I call those people. I find them, CEOs, COOs, presidents, etc. Put them on my list. And here's the mind game that I play. I'll tell you both sides of the mind game and how I deal with it. You might relate to a lot of these things, you might not. I'm scared that he's not going to be Jewish. I'm scared that he is already affiliated with Conservative Temple and Reform Temple, and he's like, I don't need you, Rabbi. I'm scared that he thinks I'm only after his money. I'm scared that the worst thing would be he already has a relationship with another shliach. That would be the worst thing, because then the other guy's stealing my balabatim, and that starts a whole different drama. But there's 99 reasons why I shouldn't call, and each one of them is valid. Each one is something that I really relate to, and it's a real fear. It's a real fear. And first of all, just acknowledging that fear and knowing that I'm normal, that I have those fears. I'm not the only one, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to those fears as well, if not all of them, but some of them, maybe even many of them. So I'm a normal guy. I'm a normal shliach, and it's normal for me to have those fears, but I don't have to get stuck in those fears, and I can process them. And for me, at the moment, what works is as follows. And through Shmuli's help and through learning Chassidus and thinking about it, this is the truth. The truth is that I am the conduit for at the moment between their neshama and Atzmus Hus. That's the truth. That's the truth. And the Eibusher put me in a position that, as my shlichus and my shetach, I am that conduit, and I'm the one that that the Rebbe put me in this space that I have a schus to connect them with their etzem haneshama. Now they're not even aware of it. They really don't. They're not aware of it. And hypothetically, in a geula mindset, they would call me and say, "Hey, I would love to learn Chassidus today," but they don't. So they say that in the world of mental health, when someone's aware that they have a mental health problem, they're aware that they are an alcoholic, they're aware that they're a drug addict, whatever it may be. It takes 10 years from when you have that awareness until you actually get help. Imagine that. You know you're an alcoholic. You know you have a severe mental health issue. It takes 10 years from when you're aware of that till you actually show up at an AA meeting or something like that. 10 years on average. Now, if someone would just come to your house and say, "Hey, I got something that can change your life for the better. I'm just going to get you in my car and drive you there." That is saving the guy 10 years of aggravation. And you have the ability to do that as well. He didn't call you, but you have something that can change his life for the better. So just pick up the call and tell him about it. Now, you can't just tell him about it because he's not open to it at the moment. So you need to start that relationship. He would want to call you. He really, really, really wants to call you. He's hesitant because he thinks you're after his money. He's hesitant because he thinks you're going to make him feel guilty. He's hesitant because he thinks that you are going to be judgmental of him. He's hesitant because he had bad experiences with Judaism. He's hesitant because he doesn't even know that there is such a thing as positive Judaism. So he doesn't call you. And you in the gifts that you have, you're going to reach out to him. And so it's almost not about me. Not just almost. It's really not about me. The thing that comes to mind is why is honey kosher? It's made by a bee. Bees aren't kosher because the bee doesn't make anything. He just transports goods from there to there, and puts it there and lets it stew over there, and that makes beautiful stuff. It's nothing to do with the bee, and it's not about me. I'm just taking something a gift that the Eibusher gave me and transporting it over to that guy over there and let him appreciate the honey. So on a good day, I have to go through this conversation. And it sounds silly. I'm a grown adult. I'm like 42 years old, and I have to sit with fear in my car, organizing my office and any other random petty thing that I hate doing, just that I don't have to pick up that call and reach out to the guy, because I'm deathly scared that he's going to tell me, "Who are you and who gave you my number?" And like every time I just got to go through this process and self-talk and like remind myself that like it's not about me, and you're going to have a better response than you thought. And the Rosh Hashanah's fear is false evidence, assume results. Like I know it's not going to work out the worst way. It's going to be probably better than you think. So after going through this whole conversation and like really putting myself in it, and like I'm praying that he won't answer, and I'm praying he won't answer, and like hopefully it's the wrong number, and maybe his secretary will put me to the voicemail. God forbid he actually answers the call. And like, what do I do now? Alo, achi, שקט, יש פה אסיפה. Davin, enjoy. So, ruined my train of thought there. All right, so you finally make the call, and this is basically what it comes down to. And you have to develop your own. Don't write down what I'm saying, because you have to develop your own thing. Hi, my name is Mendy Teldon, and I'm a rabbi here in town, and I really, 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 and I don't say that much, and I really benefit tremendously from hearing from local successful businessmen about their life story, and I feel I can gain tremendously from having a conversation with you, do you have 15, 20 minutes in your calendar that I can just pick at your brain and learn from your experiences, learn from your successes? And there's usually like this silence. The guy's like, where do you get my number? Like either I'll like make something up, like, oh, I don't know if it was Jack Hulk or Richie Cohen, someone told me, gave me your number, and I make sure to say a couple names so they can't call that guy. And they gave me a number that you're just a good guy, and I would appreciate a phone call. So this is generally the way it works out. Of 5 phone calls, 1 is not there, or voicemail, or whatever it may be. 2, 3 are not there. One guy will say, it's not good, or I'm in the warehouse myself today and no one's around, it's tax season. Tax season like in 7 months from now, but like it's the middle of tax season and I can't do it. Can you call me in a month, like, or 9? Fine, yeah, when's a good time? Afternoon, and don't say, okay, like, when's a good time? Afternoons, mornings, when's best for you? Because you're serious, by the way, I'll get to that in a second, you're serious. And the 5th one will be, okay, I can do that. So of 5 calls, so I've done this probably 50, 60 times. I don't know, I made up that number. Yeah, I'd say 50, 60 times. I have never gotten a negative response. Never. I don't think I've ever gotten like a nasty response. Of the people I got through to, let's say half of them, the people that I actually spoke to, half of them told me not a good time. A few of them said, no, I'm not interested. Very few said, I'm not interested. Most of them said, okay. Most of them said, okay. Some of them like, okay, let's talk. Like right then, I'm like, oh, I wasn't prepared for that. So like, I wasn't ready for it. But most of them said, okay. Some of them said, let's make up a time, 15, 20 minutes, yeah. And we set up a time. I try to do it in person, some on Zoom, but that's the success rate. That's a success rate. Now, when you go into the conversation, you genuinely have to be interested in learning from them. I don't BS it. You're not BSing. You're real, and you're being genuine. You're being real. I want to learn from you. You're a capable, talented, successful person. Just the fact that you're in that business, you're running a business, and I would love to learn from you. And everyone. Listen, if I called any of you guys and say I would love to learn from your successes, you'd probably share with me something. So it's human nature that they want to share. So they're willing to do it. Fine, you set up a time. You have the time. You have the slot. So I have a list of prepared questions that I try to get through. First, I start off with saying, hey, how much time do we have? So they'll tell you 15 minutes, half hour. They'll tell you what it is, and be respectful of that time. After that, you touch on COVID a little bit. It's always an easy opening. You know, if you were a prophet in 6 months from now, where would you see the world? We're starting for high holidays programming. Where do you think programming would? And let them talk from their position of influence, how they see the world. And everyone likes pontificating about that. And then you ask them experiences. How do you end up in the business that you're in? What do you go to school for? What information was relevant? Another question people love, or it's a great question, is what would you tell yourself at my age? You being 30, 40, 50 years older than me or less, what would you tell a guy 25 years old at this point, at the beginning of your career? What would you tell yourself? What was 1 or 2 life lessons that you can share with me? Ask them how you balance the work home environment, like going home at night. What are the tools of success to be able to not bring your work home with you? How do you manage your email? Everyone's got a whole shit ton, like a whole shit ton about how they manage their email, and they'll share with you. And it's interesting. It's interesting. These are type of things that are real data that you really can learn from them. And if you can pick up that information, great. At the end of it, they might not ask you, hey, Rabbi, tell me about yourself. Have something prepared that in case they do that. But most people don't even ask that. Most people don't ask. Like they finish and you talk for half hour about themselves, and they're good. And don't feel the need to tell about Chabad, because that's not what you're there for. You're really not there. If they walk out of the meeting knowing nothing about you, that's fine. It's actually a success. You walked out of the meeting, you learned from them, great, fine. Don't view this person currently as part of your finances. They're not part of the 2021 financial income. They're just not. Maybe 2022. Finish the meeting, great, it was so nice. Walk out, within a day, hopefully even that day, send them an email with a recap of hold on, I'll send you here's a text someone sent me. Send them a recap of Mark Epstein. A recap of what your conversation was. Hold on, here we go. And just recap, hey, thanks for chatting. This is what I learned from you today. And 5-6 pointers. And so this guy responds, wow, were you taking notes? That is the essence of my work ethic. Be well. Meaning he was surprised that I actually was paying attention. No, I was really paying attention. If you're in person, it's harder to take notes, but if it's over the phone or Zoom, take notes and then send a recap, a follow-up. It's another time that you are interacting, connecting, and there's a good vibe about that interaction. Fine. Then you put them on the regular cultivation system. Matzah, drop by, bring matzah. Random Shabbos, random Friday, bring them challah, bring them shalach manis. There's a couple businesses here. Yankee Bell found them many, many years ago. The America Shlichus here, thank you, Yankee. That I have nothing to offer them, so to say. We have a mincha minion there, but they don't come. And what can I do for them? So I bring them pizza. Genuinely, I walk in, I bring them pizza. This last Thursday, I came in, Galil Foods, maybe you know them, an Israeli company. I walk in holding a pie of pizza. I walk into Matthew. He's like, Rabbi, I just ate. I can't eat it. Sorry, bring it to Yankel, the new salesman. I go to Yankel with a pie of pizza. Yankel's like, oh, Rabbi, I can't eat that. You know, we schmooze. I can't eat it. I go to the third. I felt like a loser walking around the office building holding a pie of pizza. Fine, that was all right. The last time they actually took the pizza, but this time everyone's staring at me. DoorDash, right? They take tips and whatever. It was uncomfortable. Fine, but I walked into the CEO's office afterwards and we schmoozed for 10 minutes. Like, Rabbi, last time I ate the pizza, I can't have. Fine opportunities. Another good way is, first of all, put the guys' names on Google Alerts. Put their names in Google Alerts, and anytime there's a new story about them, you will be notified. That's Stam Ha'ara Ba'alma. Immediately, LinkedIn and Facebook friend them. So when it's fresh, it's normal for you to do that. So you can connect with them. And then what I do as well is find an article of interest that you think might interest them. One guy was telling me how a guy I'm closer with, his mind sometimes travel. I found an article on Chabad.org about Mayach Shal Dalev, and I said, Sagi, I found an article of interest. I thought about you when I read it. Here you go. Oh, Rabbi, I loved it. Just a random article. Put in your calendar every month to Mark Kleiman, coming back to Mark Kleiman. So his parents were Holocaust survivors, and he's very into Holocaust. 3 months later, I called him. I said, Mark, I'm actually about to meet a family. They want to do something in memory of their father, who was a Holocaust survivor. I can't relate to where they're at as Holocaust children of Holocaust survivors. Can you give me a window into their mind of what the children of Holocaust survivors thinks about the parents? And he went on for an hour about the psychology of it. Wonderful, wonderful. It was complete. I knew the family very well. I didn't need it, but it was an opportunity to call him. With Mark Hyman Grada, fast forward. So he mentioned to me one of his meetings, one of our things, that he loves learning Torah, but the previous rabbi he learned with wasn't really giving him the meat of Torah. So I'll find a later conversation. I said, Mark, let's study once a week. I don't mind studying Torah. Okay, so we now have a weekly chavrusa. He came Friday night for dinner. His wife's not interested. Like, whatever. He's changing. He's moving from my neighborhood to Pittsburgh. He's taking over a business over there, CEO of a business there. But we started weekly chavrusa, and he's the CEO. We're still learning. And John, 1 month ago, so after 8 months, he came to have a conversation with me. He asked me for career advice, which was interesting. That here's an international CEO, and he's asking me for career advice, and I gave him advice. And as he's leaving, he says, "Oh, you know what? I've never given you a donation. I really would love to give you a donation." Are you a 501c3? I said, yes, okay, my foundation will send you a donation. Boom, boom. Never asked him for money. It's friendship. 8 months went by. He sent $500. Fine. I didn't even ask him for money, and he's already in the system. So, and even though he's going to move to Pittsburgh and he took a paycheck there, many millions of dollars, we still have chavrusa, and we have it. We have that regachas. In sales, they'll tell you, and I want to make, in conclusion, how much time do I have? I want to say 2 points. Number one, the data is there. It used to be that when you were in sales, they would say you have to make 10 calls. You have to get 2 leads a day, whatever. Because 2 leads will lead to 1 sale. And you were after making the sale, you're after making a sale. And then I read an article a few years ago, they shifted focus in the productive, successful sales teams. It's not about making a sale. It's really not about making a sale. The data is there that if you make 250 cold calls, you will have 100 responses, which will lead to 20 interviews, which will lead to 5 sales. So it's not about the sales. It's actually not. And don't think about the sales. Your goal is to make 250 calls. 250 calls. 1 a day. 1 every, whatever it is, 5 a week, however you do it. Your goal is not about the success is not about the actual meeting. That's not the success, especially for me where I'm so scared of that interaction. And every time the guy tells me no, it's like a failure. And every time it's every time it's a complicated phone call, that itself is like draining the energy, and it's a failure. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Redefine it. Success is making a call. And if you make 1 cold call a day to a new guy, ultimately you're going to have the 10 meetings. And I'm pretty confident I actually have 50 meetings. I haven't had 1 nasty guy. Of the 250 calls, if you take those numbers, if I made 250 calls, I would have had 100 interactions, 50 meetings, 25 relationships. The data is there. It's going to happen. Your success is making a call. What happens afterwards? It's not on you. It's really not on you. I'm thinking out loud. I have another point to make. When I was aggressive, and I've slowed down because my Yetzer Hara is getting the better of me, but during, I don't know if I was supposed to say that, Shmuel, that I slowed down, but during those periods that I was doing it aggressively, let's say March and April of this year, I was on it every day making a cold call. I received $35,000 of donations unsolicited from other people, A grandfather of a bar mitzvah boy from a year earlier said he wants to give a donation, sent $10,000. The JCC, the federation, which has never given $1 to Chabad, gave $12,000. I'm sorry, $8,000. Someone else called $17,000 donation unsolicited. It's never happened to me. I'm telling you, I'm 17 years. Actually, this last Shabbos was 17 years. It has never happened to me such money. Like I didn't know what to do. I genuinely didn't know what to do with the money. And it was not from any of the people I called. It was not from any of the people I called. But Al pi Torah, al pi Chassidus, when I'm out there leaving my comfort zone and I'm doing what I need to do to think bigger and get over that hump of living in my little dalamas and really thinking on a bigger level, that I am in a real way, I'm not trying to convince myself. Hopefully each one of us can get to a place where we own the fact that I am the most important Jew in my area. I am the most important person. Forget Jew. I'll through that. I am the most important human being in my shetach. That is al pi Torah true. Once I can live in that mindset, and I'm out there expanding the way I think and breaking out of my gullus mentality and really reaching new people and raising my sphere of influence, the brachas come. They really do. They really do. And I'm telling you, unsolicited $35,000, I didn't know what to do with it. And I attribute it directly to the fact that I was widening the cave. One last point before I conclude. You can't get stuck in the conclusion, in the destination. You can't imagine, you can't look at the success as the conclusion. The journey, I know it's cliched and I know it's like everyone chews it over. The journey is the success. That's really what it is. I'm going to go where I don't belong, but like the social mediaization of our minds, where we have a snapshot, a picture of the conclusion. Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, those images are the conclusion. It corrupts us. It really poisons our minds. It genuinely, COL, chas v'shalom, like these things destroy shlichus because it makes you think that that the conclusion is the prize. It's not. It's not. And I'm again, where I don't belong. Like, just get off of it. It gives you this imaginary image of success that is not real, and you have to really be safe in the 250 calls in just that process. And there's no image for that. There's no cute meme on that. Like, no one shares that part. But you have to be able to enjoy, which I don't, which I'm still part of that. I'm still going through that process of enjoying that process and saying, it's challenging. It really is. It's a struggle every time, I promise you. And I've on my calendar 7 people I have to call today. I might or might not call them. It's a challenge every time, but you have to be ready to go celebrate the process, and you'll be a better person because of it. You'll learn to leave your comfort zone, and brachas will come from crazy places when you go through that process. All right, that's my monologue.
Mendy, thank you for being generous in time and spirit. And our collective question to you is, how much unsolicited funds would you like to see by the end of this week?
I have a charity campaign on Sunday, so I'm going to send you all a text that you can partake in it. Especially that bell, I blew you off by your campaign.
Mendy, I heard you say you weren't supposed to say that you were slowing down. What I heard it was ominous to speed up. So yeah. You know what? There is never a bad opportunity to be inspired to make those calls. So in the public sphere that I'm in right now, however many guys are on this, 11 other guys, I'm committing this week to make the calls that are on my list, whatever they may be. It's going to be rough, but especially we have a campaign Sunday, but I'm committing to do that. Okay, before you go, I know you got to run to Mincha. You came to give, but tell us what you got out of this.
Anytime, Malchus is Ma'ided Keser, I don't know, something in Kabbalah that says like that. Anytime you verbalize it. So I've told this, Shmuley has encouraged me to talk about this with other places I spoke about, the kids here about it as well. The more you talk about it, the more you'll believe it, the more you'll connect with it, the more you'll relate to it and talk about it. So for myself now, I'm owning those ideas even more. I'm relating to them even more. I have to remind myself of those ideas, and the opportunity to talk about it with you all is helpful to me. So thank you.
Fantastic, Mendy. Guten Tag, Freilichen. Thank you for your time. And
I got 8 minutes. Any questions?
Oh, go ahead. I thought you had to scramble. Go ahead.
I'm in at 2, so I have to leave at 1.
Chat box. A couple of questions came in earlier. How do you get the numbers once you find out who they are?
Google, LinkedIn. Like, you know this. You know, you play the internet.
Okay. Do you only call Yidden?
I try to. Yeah.
Mendy, do you find LinkedIn to be very useful? In other words, like I'm saying,
Yankee, let's stick to the chat box for the conversation. Type it up, please. Okay, Mendy, there's a request here for your list of questions. I think you've shared it with me in the past. If you don't mind, WhatsApp it to me again. I'll share it on the group. One shliach asked earlier, you mentioned that if he doesn't ask about you, it's still a success. He's questioning how's that a success if he didn't ask about you?
Good question. Cause here, hold on a second. How is he about you? Because this is about a relationship. This has nothing to do with money. This is about a relationship, and you're starting it. This is a long game. It's a very long game, and the Abisher can make it quicker, but you're a stickle higher than Zman here, and you have to genuinely be in it for the relationship. Then the miracles will happen. When he talks about himself, you've mined data that no LinkedIn could ever tell you. You now have 30 minutes of information about him, where his kids to go to college, and where all these just tremendous amounts of information. If you can remember it, then you walk out, you'll have 30 minutes of opportunities how to follow up with him. He likes pizza, he doesn't like pizza. His kid's in college in South Carolina. I immediately called Refson and said, okay, I'm making an introduction. The kid's never going to go to Refson, but he might. But just the fact that I reached out and said, hey, my brother-in-law is in South Carolina. If you ever need anything, reach out. Just that in itself created it.
You only do phone calls as a first point of contact?
I actually prefer challah. It's a lot easier showing up with a challah at the doorpost, but Fridays when I do challah most in the office, it's a harder sell at an office.
But if you had a choice of phone call or a electronic intro, email, LinkedIn, for example, is your preference phone? And if yes, why?
Yeah, LinkedIn. An email people just ignore. I don't know. You sound like a sale. You sound like 1,000 other emails that they get trying to do business with them.
Do you ever have the noise in your head that says, let me try a other method as opposed to picking up the phone?
Every time. And
how do you talk yourself past it?
I know if I'm doing this, you got to do it right. The success is not there's no success in an email. I mean, there might be, but I have yet to experience it.
So the most direct is the most difficult.
Yeah. Which
is why it works.
By the way, so like this Galil, I'll tell you there were two cold calls I made the same day. This Galil, and it's a new company. They just moved into town. It's Israeli. I don't know. The whole noise as well. I walked into Galil. Delightful people. One of them wants to start learning Tanya. Like everything that I was scared of did not happen. And the best case scenario happened. One. Number two, I walked into another office and I left my business card. Thank God the guy wasn't there. And he calls me half hour later. Oh, sorry, Rabbi, I'm so sorry I missed you. I love your synagogue. I love your congregation. I love everything about you. So sorry I missed you. Next time you're around, please stop in. I'm going to give you, he has a candy company. I'll give you some candy. Now, at the time I thought, he was a guy that came high holiday. He goes to the next shliach over to Yankee Sachs, and Yankee didn't even know the guy exists. But if Yankee would have stopped, it would have been great. I told Yankee about him, and Yankee dealt with him. But like my biggest fear that the guy's going to blow me off. To the contrary, he's been coming to Chabad for services for 10 years without the shliach even knowing about it. It was perfect.
So you haven't gotten physically injured from this process yet?
Only from tripping on the doorstep, on the stoop.
Holding your pizza.
Holding my pizza. Yeah.
Mendy, thank you. Keep blessing.
One last thing, LinkedIn is LinkedIn a good place to hang out for this. LinkedIn is good for me. I use it if I have common friends. And that way, let's say Keith Zuckerman. So I see he's friend with Jerry Hers. So I mentioned to Jerry Hers, hey, do you know Keith Zuckerman? And so Jerry Hers says, yeah, great guy, you should know him. Boom. The moment Jerry Hers says you should get to know him, that validates me calling him and says, Jerry Hers says you should get to know him. That's all I need. That's all I need. Jerry Hers didn't call me and say, hey, get to know Keith Zuckerman. I solicited the solicitation. But it makes me not a liar anymore. That Jerry said, you should get to know him.
Mendy, quick second. The second meeting, you learned a bunch about him. What do you do at the second meeting?
I don't think there is a second meeting yet. I'm still, again, I'm not doing this for years. The second meeting is you've become friends. You invite him. Mark Kleiman came for Shabbos dinner. He came for Shabbos dinner by himself without his wife. Stop in for matzah. Mark Epstein, I stop in for matzah. Oh, Rabbi, thank you so much for the matzah. He's texting me, his secretary. You develop a relationship, and I'll tell you like this. I'm shayach 17 years. It's not about the centerpieces. It's not even about the program that we do. The relationship that I have the longest are the people that are invested in us the longest. If you have more relationships off the bat in the beginning, and you invest time in relationships, financially, it pays the most dividends. It pays the most dividends, and ultimately, I'll conclude with this before I have to go. So I called the local, the township supervisor, whatever, guy, mamish a guy, and I wanted something for him. So I left my cell number. I didn't leave my cell number. He knows my cell. I said to his secretary, have Ed call me. Okay, I'm sitting in the car with my son, my 12-year-old, and the phone rings. Comes Ed Werheim, the supervisor, the town supervisor. So we have a chit chat, 5 minutes. I'll talk to the board. I'll get back to you. So my 12-year-old asked me, Ty, yes, who's that? I say he's the guy who runs Smithtown. He's like the president of Smithtown. He says, and he calls you on your cell? How do you know him? I said, Charlotte. He wants a yachas with the Rebbe Shliach. Of course he's going to call me. That's really the Torah and the pro. You create your network, your web of everyone in your town has to know you. The school superintendent has to know you. Have him in your sukkah. When there's an anti-Semitic something, he's going to call you. You are the guy that everyone has to know. You have to have a beautiful dining room table because that's where all the deals in town are going to be done. Everybody has to be at your table. We had a sukkah 2 years ago, whatever last time we did sukkahs. We had 3 superintendents from the surrounding 3 school districts in our sukkah for dinner. They all look at you like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Like, they belong at your table. They don't know it yet. The only way they'll know it is when you reach out to them, but ultimately they need to know you. They really need to know you because you're the guy that Eretz Yisrael, the Eibusher put Eretz Yisrael right at that corner because all business, Europe, Asia, and Africa all go through the Middle East. That's your table. In order to influence the world, the Eibusher gave us Eretz Yisrael because that is the crossroads of the world. Your dining room table is a crossroads of the world. People don't know it yet. You gotta own that. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mendy, love you.
Bye.